now live. So happy Friday. I am feeling greatly relieved for having finally done the soft release of the pattern tailor. Have about 1 billion details left to fix, things to get up online, but I feel that progress has been made. So it is a dreary day here in Seattle. And I can't believe it's August. It feels like October. But I said I'd talk about the passion that I feel for making fit accessible. And first I've got to wipe it off my eye. Well, that didn't work. So I was talking to my therapist yesterday, and I realized that I don't communicate the passion that I feel very well. I'm always pretty controlled and trying to be professional. So I thought I'd try and tap into emotion that I feel about fashion, which underlies what I feel about making fit accessible. So you may or may not know that I've loved fashion since the day I discovered clothes and had control over what I got to choose to wear. Sometimes it was from a very limited choice, but I always just have loved clothes, and I still love clothes. And one of the things that I've realized over the years, and that I feel has served me very well, is that fashion can be transformative. And by that I mean that if you choose what you put on and how you present yourself, you can actually transform not only how you feel about yourself, but how others perceive you. And I feel I'm a bit of a master at this, and I do it because I love it. I mean, every morning I wake up, and I don't think I actually say it to myself, but in my head I'm like, so what am I going to wear today? And you know, there are days where I'm going to put on a sweatshirt because I just want to feel like I'm hanging out here at home and I'm safe and everything is kind of cozy. And other days I put much more thought into what I choose to wear. Today I knew that the weather was going to be crappy and I wanted to feel still like we're in summer, but also to be warm. So you know, today I put on like regular weight jeans. I have on a t-shirt that's got long sleeves, and I chose my pin because I feel like the gold back here really reflects the color of this t-shirt. I chose this bracelet because I love the gold with this t-shirt, and all the other bracelets are just like standard what I wear. Same with this one over here, but you can see that this is a color I really like because I bought this when we were on Murano Island outside of Venice. I put my pearls on every day for Kamala Harris, and I have since she and Joe Biden were inaugurated, debating whether to buy some Chucks. But so every day I put, and then I choose whether I'm going to have glasses that match or glasses that contrast to my outfit. And usually, I wear house shoes, and today I was too lazy to change into something that probably would have matched the tone of my outfit. So I've got one like kind of orange bright pair. I've got these pale pink ones, and now I have kind of a seafoam green pair. So normally I would wear the bright orange ones because I feel like the color tone or color personalities match each other better, but I was too lazy to do that. So it didn't happen. Every day I dress so that the way I think the world sees me is the way I want them to see me. And so over the years, I've kind of come to realize that I've had a great deal of privilege about this. I'm height-weight proportionate and pretty close to a standard size. And as I started looking to add other sizes to my Jill Wolcott Knits designs, it became clear to me that there was a way I could make things that would fit enough people that the time and energy required to do it was so huge, and the number of people that it would actually service was so small that I had to find another way to do it. So I've been making patterns since I was in high school. First I started out just cutting fabric into different shapes, and then I learned how to make patterns. And so for years I sewed and made patterns for everything that I made, and also did it professionally. So and now I got distracted and I can't remember where I was going. Yeah, that thought just poof, gone. So I have the ability, I have the skill, and I have the knowledge to make things fit almost everybody that I come into contact with. But it takes a lot of time and energy. So it's easy to do it for one person, and I do sometimes do that. But it's very difficult to do it for a large group. And if you think of even people who are standard measurements, there's like a vast variety of body types that have those same measurements, or, in terms of knits, would wear the same size. So, but then there are deviations. Somebody's got large upper arms, somebody's got skinny upper arms, somebody has no waist, somebody's got a curvy figure, all of these things. And so I've been doing this long enough, and because I'm a visual thinker, I can picture different bodies and see how to make things fit. But it takes a lot of skill and a lot of concentrated thinking in order to do that. And mostly I don't see people in real life because I'm just interacting with people over the internet in terms of my designs and my patterns. So I really wanted to create things where people could input their measurements and the computer would spit out a rewritten pattern to their specifications. So that's always been my goal. And when I started out working on the Pattern Tailor, which was about 5 years ago that I had any kind of specific framework that I was working in. Before that, I was just using spreadsheets to grade different sizes and to quantify all the numbers that go into my designs. So when I started thinking about creating what I called any size, any gauge patterns, let's just say the spreadsheets were huge and the number of variables became just kind of unmanageable. And by this time I'd brought Jamie in to help me out, and Jamie and I worked together on this for 3 years, and she has like a STEM background. So I have a creative designer background, and my math skills, while not terrible, I don't understand any of the kind of theory behind it. I just know how to do the things that work for me. And I figured out a lot of things from trial and error, so I learned how to make a sleeve cap in flat pattern, and then have made a gazillion sleeve caps. And then I started thinking about how do I make sleeve caps that don't just work for someone like me, where I'm pretty close to a standard size. And the more I looked at people and talked to other people and, found out what people's pain points are, they are just never ending. But I love to solve problems. So I have worked to find ways, let's see, how do I want to say this? So when I first conceived of this, I was going to do my designs in any size, any gauge. We literally worked for 8 months on a shell, like a tank top. It's got a fancy neckline, so it's not really simple. But 8 months just to get it so that it would work regardless of kind of what measurement variables we put in. And I don't have that kind of time anymore. So it became clear that these other things that I developed, like the bust start calculator, were a way that I could give people access to better fit. So we have lots of things in the pipeline, but in order to just get this thing off the ground. Right now I just have the horizontal bust dart for a pullover, and what that does is it allows somebody to be knitting along on their sweater, top down, bottom up, depending on which way you like to go. Won't work sideways, sorry. And you can buy the horizontal bust dart and put in the information about the pattern that you're working on, because we have to know how many stitches you have, what your gauge is, your stitch pattern, multiple, that sort of thing, and your measurements, and it will write the instructions for you to do that dart within your stitch pattern. So that's where I'm really focusing, because I can touch the most people that way. We're working on a vertical bust dart right now, and probably the next one up will be dart for people who need to get from a very large chest to a smaller upper body, because trust me, nobody wants to rewrite their armhole or the sleeve cap that goes into it. So by putting a dart here, you can get rid of some of that fabric, which a lot of people need to do. So I wish I could just generate these things in days. It takes months to generate them and to test them and to work out all the logic to work through. So I physically write the pattern, and then we pull out the things that we need to know to get the information from the knitter. Things from, like for the bust dart calculator, what size needle are you using? We have to know that. We have to know the name of the yarn. We have to know your name. We have to know the date. Things from that basic to what is your bust measurement? How many stitches do you have on your front, so that we can divide up that short row dart? And I've written the instructions. The instructions are relatively generic. And what nobody wants to do is figure out how to space out those short rows. So I've done it. And you can either print it out, or you can put it on Knit Companion, or use it from the PDF that we give you. And it's all customized to your specific measurements. So that's what the Pattern Tailor does. And I just got done helping gal Casey with a shell pattern, or a tank top pattern, and very large bust, someplace like 55 or 58 inches, and but like my size, not a huge person. And her armhole is always too deep, because if you just put the numbers in without understanding the body underneath it, you will increase the length of the armhole in order to get in the shaping that you need to get in. But in fact, I'm always wearing this t-shirt when I want to show. So that's, my skeleton and connective tissue. It is 5¼ inches deep. So if I was heavier, it would not be that much deeper. It would be maybe 1/2 inch deeper. And then, of course, you may want it to not be right up in your armpit, so you add some ease in it. But what happens for people with larger chests is they get an armhole that's like 9½ inches deep. Well, the armhole that they need is not more than 7½ inches deep. So what I did for Casey was, using her gauge, I figured out how to redistribute the shaping so that she could make the same pattern without me having to rewrite the pattern, because I did not want to do that, but improve the shaping for her going from here down under her arm. Get rid of, it was actually worked top down, so she was adding fabric in the level that she needed it to add her underarm, and then join her 4 pieces to make the body. And I believe she is currently slogging through the body, because there's a lot of stitches on those needles at this point. I think she ends with 368 and maybe started with 320, something like that. But then we had to put some shaping in the body, because she has a belly, so she doesn't want it to just fall. She wanted some shape in it, so I reworked the shaping on the side so that she could do that. And now she, as I said, she's happily knitting away, making the top that she really wanted. And the reason I do this is because I want people to feel as good in their clothing as I do. in mind. And we spend a ton of time knitting. If you ask somebody like, well, how long does it take you to make a pullover? Most people would probably say, like 6 weeks. Well, so how much do you knit every day? If you add up the hours, you're probably talking something like 70 to 100 hours to make a long sleeve garment, and even much more if you're a larger person. So we need to know that it works before we get it finished. We need to know what our body needs in terms of, like Casey was able to tell me, I need things to be looser around my belly, but not so loose that I look like I'm pregnant. So because of my design background and my familiarity with bodies, and she sent me some photographs and took a ton of measurements for me, I was able to do it, and it literally probably 5 or 6 hours of my time, maybe not even that. She did all the pattern writing for me, so I could just go in and change things. So my reward is that she's happy and she's getting to knit the first garment that she thinks she is going to fit. She's also allergic to wool, so she has to work in cotton, which is even provides some other challenges in terms of flexibility and all of that. So I'm going to start working with another person. These are things that I've done at No People, but I don't usually do that. So I'm going to start working with somebody else who's got a much larger bust, wants to make this very cute top that's actually pretty simple. And again, it's doing the shaping up here more than anything. So, it's pretty easy to make something bigger, but to get all the shaping done. And so that's what I do. That's what I love to do. I love to design, but frankly, can't make any money at it. And so everything I'm doing from here on out is going to be, if it can't go in the pattern tailor, I'm not doing it. And I'm working on some different types of pullovers so that people can try this out in a fairly benign environment where I've already solved all the fit problems. Generally, like I'm creating the standard sizes, which they can then customize to fit themselves. So let's say instead of having my 36.5-inch chest, I had a 46.5-inch chest. Well, that would take me up into like an extra large, or like a 1X, 2X, just to get my chest in there. But let's say I'm just all boobs and I don't have necessarily a larger body. That's not going to work. So that's what the pattern tailor can solve. And it's going to take me a couple of years to get all these tools built because Jamie is leaving me. And that's kind of all I've got today. I'm exhausted from doing this release. There, of course, were technical disasters at the very last minute because when else would they happen? And I started having a panic attack about 10 days ago, unrelated to this, related to marketing, which I do not like to do. And now I'm just kind of doing the cleanup that I need to do in order to do the hard launch on the 5th of September. So if you're interested I will be doing like training sessions to show you how to get through all of the inputs and everything. It's not hard, but it is a little intimidating. And so those will happen on Wednesdays, and you should stay tuned on Instagram or get my newsletter to find out when those are. I'll be doing those every week until like mid-September, and then I'm going to travel for a month, and then I'll be back and I'll be doing them again. But we have all kinds of tutorials. We have user guides that take you through each step of the process. Those exist the user guides exist both online and as downloadable PDFs. We have sheets where you can putting in the information that I'm just going to bend over here and let's see. I am scrambling for paper. Okay, here we So this is the input sheet. So it just tells you the questions that are going to be asked. And if you use the fillable form, you can fill them out. And then you have a record of what you put in. And ultimately, you go to Pattern Tailor online and you put your inputs in. And after you hit submit, it literally takes like 2 seconds to get your PDF. So it's very cool, but you do have to answer some questions. And I'm putting stuff up on my website this week where you can access that. And then there's a user guide. So here's the user guide. I love paper, so even if something exists online, I always do. I print out the paper. So this just takes you through each step and like basically every single thing that you need to know or could conceivably want to know. It again asks you for your inputs. If you do it online, it's interactive, so you can fill in, you can put your information directly in and then save it as a PDF, or you can download the PDF and just read it. And so all of that, just mind-numbing amount of detail that has to go in and fillable forms. Oh my God, they're so cool, but Jesus, are they a pain in the ass? So I am like an idea person, and once things get down to the real nitty gritty, oh my God, I just start losing my mind. And so we had like 2 weeks of that where I was frankly losing my mind and having a panic attack. But I think I'm coming out of it now. So also, on the last, since I'm supposed to be talking about my passion, I'm doing what is called a fit clinic. The next one is on August 28th at noon Pacific time. And it's just a free interactive webinar. So you come on, I give you some fit information, I answer your questions, and you can tell me at that point, like, what are your pain points? Because I love pain points. I want to fix them. And I don't know what each person's are, so I keep like a running list of things that we need to look at and things that we can solve. And you can talk to me, you can ask me anything. I used to teach college level design classes and used to tell my students, you can ask me anything. The most frequently asked question was, why do you not like children? Because I chose to remain childless. I am, in fact, or would be if I had a cat, I would be a childless cat lady. But I love cats, but haven't had a cat for like 35 years. So that was like the most frequently asked question by college students. But you can literally ask me anything, and because I'm an adult, I will just tell you if I don't want to answer it. But I love knowing what is on people's minds. The other thing that if you struggle with knitting garments, wanting to make garments that fit, a certain amount of planning is required to make that happen. Just, from like the user guide and the inputs, you have to have information to input. So you have to take measurements, have to have gauge, these things. So I will be doing a lot after Black Friday and throughout 2025 on getting through projects, and you can join me. I will hold your hand and help you over the hard spots and tell you stories when it's boring, because there's a lot of knitting that is just putting the hours in to get to the end. So if you want to know and I'm, like I said, I'm a creative person. I am not a planner by nature, and I'm just always by the seat of my pants. So when I say planning, it doesn't have to be like you have your life mapped out. Like today, when I came into my office, I was like, so what do I think I can get done today based on how I feel, because I'm exhausted. So like I decided I can update some of my pages on my website, and it's kind of the level of detail that I can handle today. That's what I'm going to do. So that's the kind of planning I tend to do. Tonight, it'll be like, I'm going to finish knitting that fucking shawl so that I can block it and put it together. It requires some joining. And I'm going to take the other half of this shawl it's a whole nother story. And I'm going to start ripping it back, and it's multiple colors, and not only multiple colors, but we had 2 dye lots, so we were switching. And when I say we, I mean my knitter was doing that, but as the person who's taking it out, oh my God, I am not good with multiple balls of yarn, and I will end up with like 4 or 5 going at a time. But it's great activity for after I have consumed my martini and I'm no longer able to knit. So that's what I have planned. I've got, so that, that's how I approach things in terms of planning. I have these things that I want to do. I figure out about how long I think I will have to spend on each of them, and then figure out how I'm going to get it done. So my fun project for this weekend is I wear these bracelets every day, and these 3 are, on elastic, and the elastic is getting ready to give up the ghost. And then I've got this one over here that also needs to be restrung. So I'm going to restring beaded bracelets this weekend. And this one, these used to be yellow. My perspiration has taken the color off, so I'm going to color them yellow again, because this bracelet is to show my support for Ukraine, and so I need that yellow against the blue. But I couldn't do that while I was doing the hard work on the pattern tailor because it's too fussy. So talk to you later. Have a wonderful weekend. Happy knitting, and thank you so much for joining me. And I always put up you can always watch this on Instagram, or after a few days, I usually get it up on my website, and a shortened version, because I take all the ums and pauses that don't need to be in there out. And actually AI does it. I don't do it. So the one I just did, I took 8 minutes out of a video, so it took it down almost 10 minutes by the time I do like to talk. So happy knitting. Bye-bye. See you next